Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. So welcome to Researching German Ancestors class. My name is Iveta. As you can hear my accent, I am from former Czechoslovakia originally, and I am a genealogy research analyst at Midwest Genealogy Center, the largest freestanding public genealogy library in the United States. And so I will take you through that German genealogy, and I hope when you will be leaving, so at least something new you would know that you learn. So we will see. So researching German ancestor. So you can see Germans when they lived in Germany. So in 19th century, it was huge German empire. It covered like big part of Europe, including other countries, like big part of Poland. You can see on this map of German empire from 1913. So maybe your German ancestor came from the country or state now, which is not even in Germany. Yes, thank you. And because your ancestor might come to the US from Prussia, P-R-U-S-S-I-A. In German, it would be Preußen pronounced. And so then the parts of the German Empire where even some states in Germany, inside of Germany, they were never part of that Prussia. So then for that, it is good if your German ancestor came really early, even before Germany was united. And then it says Prussia, for example. So you know for sure that definitely my ancestor was not coming from Bavaria, for example, or Saxony, because Bavaria was never part of Prussia. So that map might help you with that. And this is a current German map. So there are now 16 states in Germany, including number three, and three cities like states. Okay, Hamburg, Bremen, and Berlin. And so you can see also that the largest state right here, Bavaria, and you can even see the place where I lived, like in Karlsbad, with a lot of Germans there, Karlovy Vary. It is a very big spa city in Western Czech Republic. So, okay, and let's go to those main key points we need to focus our research. I still need to do my research as well. We constantly need to do some research, right? So because records were never centralized, like for example, in the US, when you start doing US genealogy research, you start with US federal census, right? After you explored everything and all the documents, records in your family and extended family. So in Germany, yes, there were some censuses taken, but not that periodically, or they are not accessible that easily like US federal census. So the best for tracing your German ancestors is to find civil records and church records. So because if they came earlier, before civil records started, you need to go through church records, and those are kept locally. That means that you need to find the place your ancestor came from. So you need to find that village. And from the sources here, because usually every immigrant ancestor, he left some trace where they came from. And so if that village didn't have a parish, so they would walk literally, many times they would walk to that neighboring village where would be parish and where would be a church. Maybe now as you go to Wikipedia, you can learn like, oh, that village has a church. But think of that at the time when your ancestor emigrated, that church was not built there. So you need to check like when the church was built. So then he would go to that neighboring village and records would be in that parish. What was that parish at that time? So, and I will show you another website where you will see like where you can find those records. So we can now records are kept locally. Okay, I need to find literally that village, or at least that closest parish. It could be that closest next village, and also the town, because there might be more than one village with the same name. So it is also good if you find that, okay, his bride was actually from different village. So then you can pair those two villages on the map, and you can be sure, okay, it is this state in Germany now, Lower Saxony, for example, state, and not the other state, because I cannot find in the radius of those neighboring places that other village where that bride was from. So, and church records, they started really early, some even earlier than those 1600s, as you can see on the screen. Would this be even better for you to see? Or, okay. Because there was that 30 years war. Actually, it started in Prague, now Czech Republic, Kingdom of Bohemia, right? And but it spread through Europe. So some records, even they were there before, so they were destroyed. So generally, church records are from 1600s. And they recorded primarily baptism, but I always, usually, I can say always, I saw always that birth date is listed there. So usually it is first column, birth date, that day 7, for example, and baptismal day. Sometimes it is the same day, sometimes it is 2 or 3 days later. But before it was just like Catholic records, right? Later also like Evangelische Kirche, like Evangelic Church or Lutheran Protestant Church. So they tried to baptize those children really very early after birth. If possibly the child would die, they wouldn't die unbaptized. So for that, they try to do it like in 3 days time period, but especially if it was like a common day in the week, so you can see even the same day. And then also confirmation, when they would be young teenagers. In those records, they can see them among those church records in those German record websites. We will go there. So there is listed that child, but also usually their father. So like parents are listed there as well. And then you can figure out by that time that, okay, he or she was at that time like about 12, 13, 14 years old for that confirmation record. And then they recorded also marriage banns in those marriage records. Like 3 Sundays, it would be on the door on the church that somebody could claim, no, they cannot be married. He's already married, or something like there is a not right. So there would be also those listed, and sometimes you even cannot see the date, but it was like 5 weeks after Pentecost, for example. So there would be that marriage banns. Of course, that marriage would be recorded as well, and they would record burial. That would be very important, and who officiated like that. So burial, but of course also that burial record, like a important record in the church, they would also record their death date. So you can see for that, like all those. And if your ancestor came later, when already civil records were created in a civil registry office called registrar or a civil registry office, and even those church records would be sent to those registrars. So then it would be great, because then you can you have actually 2 sets of records, church records and civil records, if your ancestor came later when already civil records were created. And those would be just those BMD you can see on the screen. It would be birth, marriage, and death records. But they were much larger and much more detailed. Marriage record on 2 pages. So that would be the ideal option. And how that civil registry office is called, you can see already here on the screen. Standesamt. AMT stands for like that district, that office, So Standesamt, and here is one, because you can see maybe you are thinking of possibly traveling to Germany. So definitely you may need visit that civil registry office, which is usually in the city hall. And so it might be a building like this beautiful building. This is in Fürstenfeldbruck in Bavaria. So when you think of that, like why my ancestor actually left like such a beautiful country, right? So then it is good to learn the history of those places, like what was happening, and especially in that region. So we have here many books about history of various places, regions, even villages. And even we have a village lineage books, German village lineage books. And there is usually on those front pages also like a history kind of shortcut as well. Maybe you are thinking of even writing a book about your German ancestors. So then those books might help you as well. But this gives you that idea like why they left, why the records are not there, but they are in some other places, because it depends like who was the ruler also of that place. And so where the records might be now, or if they were lost, especially that area like southern Germany, like an Alsace and Lorraine region, those are now in France, but they were part of German Empire. So then there constantly various soldier groups were coming, right? So then it gives you that idea like what happened. So please study that. And here I attached a picture of Charlemagne or Charles the Great, or Karl der Große in German, which means like Charles the Great. And so he united those territories, like which now create like Germany, and he was a Roman emperor and coronated in 800 and extended that empire what covers now current Germany. But then you can see also a statue of Otto von Bismarck. He united Germany in 1871, because before that time it was many principalities, duchies, kingdoms, but then also Napoleon already reduced like many of those, even like a church estate, like a separate entity. So he already reduced those places as well. So, and then we can roughly say like there are three ways, don't take it literally, but roughly, so you can possibly maybe find your ancestor. You can see maybe in those later US censuses if they were alive, or their children. So when they emigrated, and from what areas of Germany they came from. So you can see that first wave, it was primarily from southern Germany, those areas. And second wave, it was already like to different states they settled, as more territories in the US were open. So then it started like another wave. And now I can even mention, like I created also new class, ancestors on the move. Actually, it was on the base of those Germans, how they traveled already through those European lands, through the Rhine River. And and because of researchers' questions, how they were curious how they traveled. So I created a new class called Ancestors on the Move, and it should be presented again sometimes maybe in August, so you can just check our events. Then there was already that third wave. It was until World War I started to larger cities. But on the other side, one brother could come here in 1750s, and another brother would go east, because actually more Germans moved east. Even German Princess Sophia, she moved to Russia and she became the like Russian Empress Catherine or Yekaterina II or Catherine the Great, the second. And so she invited Germans because she was of German ancestry, and to settle on the vast lands. They would be kind of also serving like a bumper against Turks, Tatars, and so she would give them kind of she would secure like some kind of give them some securities that you can work the land, so you can build villages, and so you can have schools in German language. You don't need to go to military. So various kind of privileges she would give them. So for that, like you can find, so one brother would go straight here, settled in Pennsylvania. Another could go to Russia, where they would be called like Volga Germans. And some they would go to Bessarabia, they would be called, or even they were called, for example, Bana Germans, Siebenbürgen Germans, so which is now in Transylvania, Romania. So they would settle in various other countries, including Slovakia, Sips in German area, like close to High Tatra Mountains, for example, Czech Republic, Moravia, Sudetenland, so various places. And but then, as they were called usually Germans from Russia generally, so those they settled in kind of Eastern Europe and Russia. So they would then came to the United States, but much later. Then, for example, one brother would go there. So then much later generations would come to the United States, but they would settle in another regions like Dakotas, Kansas. So of course, then that connection would be lost because that would be more generations later. Those they would come from Russia, those so-called Germans from Russia. So then how you start to do research? So with US federal census, as I already mentioned, taken every 10 years, just keep in mind that every name was indexed in that census, every name in that household from 1850 census on, okay? So not in those earlier censuses. And because Germany was united in 1871, still you can find in those earlier censuses that he is listed that he came from Germany. Even officially, it was created in 1871. But you can even find in those earlier censuses that it is listed Germany. But what is good, even before that Germany was united, for example, that census 1860 will tell you that your ancestor came from Rhenish Hesse or Rhenish Bavaria. So at least you can then focus on those areas, because then maybe some your family, other genealogists, they maybe they claim or tell you, so I know our ancestor came from Oldenburg or from Lower Saxony or from Ostfriesland, that area, but you know it was, for example, Rhenish Bavaria. But think of that, actually that area was not even connected by land with current Bavaria, but by the ruler. So it was more than kind of southwestern area of Germany, that Palatinate area. If you cannot find anything about your direct ancestor, so then you need to expand the research and check also who constantly moved with them, because think also of that they didn't speak English. So they would be lost among kind of English populace. So they would settle somewhere where people would speak the same language. They would work with people who would speak Deutsch, like German, in German language said Deutsch. And but they would even go to church. They would even call for priests from Germany. Like our church needs new pastor or priest. So they would call that pastor from Germany. So that FAN, F-A-N, stands for friends, associates, and neighbors. So please explore also those. So their friends, their associates, they worked with and came to contact with, and neighbors. So here are some more ideas where to find that place of origin, because as I stressed already that you need to find that village and from the sources here. So maybe because then later his brother could come, or if nobody from his siblings, then next generation they would talk in at the kitchen table in Germany that our uncle is already there. So then, and then his nephew would come and maybe stay with him a little bit for a start. And you can know that later generation, later they came, more records were produced and created as US federal government wanted to learn more about those immigrants. So then maybe you can even check down discard like, oh, this is not my ancestor because he came earlier. What if maybe it was somebody from the same village, like next generation, and they would know like, yes, our uncle, or kind of like we know that person very well. So yeah, he is already in America for a long time. So for that, you need to expand that research. And here are many, as I go through also cemeteries, many tombstones, and they will tell you like Ruhe, that here rest in peace, and it is all in German. So, and if that tombstone is legible now, possibly you can still check, maybe find a grave.com website, because somebody could already take a picture before the tombstone was already washed out. So it might be earlier image when it was still legible. And then if your ancestors were not Catholic, if they were Lutherans or Protestants. So there are these blue books upstairs in our library. And those online attendants, you can call us, you can email us, and we can actually scan pages from those books and send it to your email. We treat everything like queries, so we can help you with that research, but you need to be specific enough. And on the last slide, there will be that contact information. So Roger Minert with his students, as he was professor at BYU University, so he contacted churches, German churches in America, various churches where it was primarily like German attendance. And so you can then, and then they were published, these books, by states. So for example, Wisconsin, so Missouri, so one state can have even 5 books. But what is so great with these books, that it gives you that village. If it wouldn't be that village where he was even born in the house at home, but at least the neighboring parish. So then you can explore, and where are those records. And so this is for Protestant like churches. They started even publish Swiss records as well. They are now even some different colors, but so you can just contact us and we can guide you to point you to the right direction. So then there are even more ideas in a German topical guide you can find on our website, midwestgenealogycenter.org. I brought a few copies also here. We have them throughout the library in printed format. And so you can even think like, why that paragraph about to like where is that village is so long, because you really need to find it, because as I said, for those they came later, that records are kept locally. So here you can see more ideas. And so then also possibly maybe in that area where they settled, maybe you can make a trip to that state, to that county in the US or other places where, I don't know if somebody even from South America is listening online. So because those records would be produced also in that language. There might be obituary much larger in German newspapers published here, and small obituary in English language. So that is some other idea. And if that church still stands, so some churches actually, they have their church records on Ancestry website, and even Ancestry Library Edition website. And I help that way to decipher for people, because it is just a few sentences. Like, so yes, he is like that. He married in the German church in America, but there is exactly like aus and Wolfenbüttel, for example. That aus means from. When you see the like three letters, A-U-S, so you know it will follow that place he is from. This is fantastic. So then passenger list, it depends. Those, like, for example, created in New York, like in early times, you cannot find like that place they came from, but at least you know it is Germany, for example. But later they came, yes, government wanted to learn more, and later even those records were on 2 pages. So even who you left behind, if you cannot read on Ellis Island records, um, which was a processing immigration center in New York. So later it was 2 pages there. If you cannot read that last residence column very well, that village or closest town, so then there was also another column, who you left behind. Usually they listed father, mother, or if they were deceased, like sibling, and you have another chance to decipher that village's name. And then you can also, as a direct descendant, contact United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. They have even a link for genealogy. So it is right here. And they would be coming on the ships like these. So then when you already, maybe many of you already know the places of origin, so then you need to find it on the map, right? Because as I said, there might be more than one place with the same place name. So then these red books we have upstairs, they will help you because they will show you radius of those neighboring villages. And you, I guarantee you, there will be that other deeper ancestry. Okay, so it is called Map Guide Series by Kevin Hansen. And so as they didn't drive or something, so you can find like other ancestors from those nearby places. Those books are kind of like divided by Catholic, like parishes, and Lutheran parishes, or evangelic. And so then you will see where would be like that Catholic, another place like close by, and where would be even kind of the diocese, and that way. Then Myers Orth lexicon, which was not created for genealogy, but it serves us very well. Everything was listed there in abbreviations. It was created for transportation purposes, but it gives that administration exactly through that time when it was German Empire. So you can find there where was for your place the closest church. If there were 2 churches, for example, Catholic and Evangelic, where was the closest Jewish synagogue, for example, where was the closest railway station, closest mill, civil registry office, a recruiting center for the soldiers. So closest military district where they would need to report and for recruitment. So this Myers Gazetteer, that website, it is one of the, to me, maybe one website where you really need to type www. If you don't want to type it, you can find all those links like on that German topical guide I created a few years ago, but it still serves well. It is just 2 pages. It is on our website under topical guides, and there are all those links conveniently for you in blue. You just click on that link and you go to that website. Another place, the largest German genealogy website listed on this slide, genealogy.net. You can reach that website like 3 ways. So they have their one part, that GOV. When you type the place, it shows you even like in what time period, who was kind of ruler, like what administrative division was there, like which town was in rule of your village. So it is really good, so something to explore as well. So this is that Myers lexicon. You can see when you type, so it was all in abbreviation. It shows you on the map of Germany where is that place, and here it is all translated to English. Not perfectly, but still it helps us. You can also click on the ecclesiastical, so then it shows you where was the closest church where they would need to go, how many miles. And also when you click on the map, it shows you actually that old map when it was separate village. And because maybe now it is now absorbed by the town, it is a part of the town. But this map, it shows you when it was that separate entity, and kind of like even where would be like the hill. So you would know like probably they would walk this way to find a bride. So, and you can toggle that map to current map. And here is the largest German genealogy website. So they have that history gazetteer, and it would then show you like what was that higher. So here you can see it in those bubbles, like what city was in charge like of your village and at what time period. They have other great goodies on this website, not just this. And as I mentioned before, yes, one day it deserves to create a class just about that. So then, before we will show like where are those records, especially if you know already all those places they came from, I would still first stop to this subject name change, because it was primarily your ancestor who would change the name. As you may know, that the German language has many compound words, just combination like attachment of more than one words. And so the same, even those last names. And even here, teacher could say like, oh, such a long name. So then they would even start maybe calling them like by shortened way. So then they would even, that family, they would shorten that name. They could translate that name, for example, what it would mean in English. And they would change it also that way that those English speaking people would say it at least by similar way as they were used in the old country. So if not completely the same, at least similar way, because your name is very dear to you. So they would like to hear at least some like similar sound. And for example, I will give you even example on my name. So if I want you to, I wouldn't show you my badge, because I notice when I show my badge, people don't say my name correctly. And but when I don't show them my badge, IVETA, but I just say Iveta. So they repeat it exactly that way, Iveta. If I want to people to read my name correctly, so I would change spelling to YVETTA or YVETTE, as it is French name. But my name is after one Czech singer, and she spells it that way because it is the same sound. So the same with them, but also some they would change it also under kind of maybe pressure, political and social events. But sometimes it was one brother would change the name and another would still keep that original version of their name. So that is many times people show me also those, and that way. And what is also interesting, maybe it's on the second. So yes, when you see above three vowels behind three vowels, when you see like those three vowels are A, O, and U. When you see behind them letter E, English E, because in German it could be pronounced also like E. So you know that originally there was that umlaut. Even I have it in my first language as well. So umlaut, it is those two dots above those vowels. So, but even sometimes Germans, they substitute those two dots above letters A, O, and U by adding that letter E. So it changes the vowel sound. So then, for example, when I don't see those two dots above that last name Schäfer, so I would pronounce it Schaffer. But because I see those two dots, or they would transcribe it by adding letter E after, so then you know it would be pronounced Schäfer. So then when he would come here, he would be used to that, like, okay, my last name is Schäfer, because he would use those two dots in Germany and all German records. And he would say everywhere, because he wouldn't even know how to spell his name, right? So he would say Schäfer. So then who knows how those, that British speaking American clerk, how they would transcribe, like record that name, as we also know that census takers were instructed not asking them spelling, how to spell their names, just how heard, recorded, how heard phonetically. For that, you can understand like, oh, they didn't record it right on that census. Yeah, because they were instructed and how heard. And they even wouldn't know how to spell the name, right? So then names, you can see how they developed from what. So from the places, as he would be coming as a new person to the village, he would be like something like newcomer or Neumann, right? Somebody new to that place. Then if he would marry to the farm where his wife would inherit the farm, so he would accept her last name. So, and then his children, maybe he would bring already like a son, he would have his name, but then he would marry to that farm and accept like his wife's name, and his children would have her name. It still even is in those places, I could say in Central Europe, as former Czechoslovakia, where I was born. So it's like kind of like that border with Germany. And as I also lived in that kind of German town. So still, like in those villages, like some houses, they still bear kind of like that name, like that farm, and completely different family already lives in that place. So that's another option. And then other also kind of like physiological, like physical description or characteristics. So the names developed like this way. So, and probably already saw those names that they could be even three. I even saw four. All the sons in the family could have the first name Johann. So you can always check what was the second name, because second name would be that call name, how his mom called him. So it would be that Rufname in German. So how they would call him. But you still need to check under both when they came here. So he could say, I am Johann Friedrich Neumann. So you need to check under Johann Friedrich or just Friedrich Neumann. So check under both. But it could be, it was very, very common. All brothers would have that saint's name Johann in front of their first like name. And all girls would have that Anna like first saint's name, but they would go by that second name. Sometimes that pastor, he wouldn't even bother to write a first name. So then you need to check the column in the church record, who was a godmother or godfather. And they would, I guarantee you, they would have the name of that godmother or godfather. So they would have their first name. And then you can check, like, if you're, this helps primarily if that name is not that common. Some names here might not be very common, but in that place will be very common. But if you think of playing with the idea to go to Germany, definitely it is always very close to City Hall. Stop at the information office. I already mentioned these kind of traveling tips. I always mention in that German newsletter, German Genealogy newsletter and beyond, what I publish quarterly and released before next German SIG is coming. So there I was featuring these information offices where those people who work there, when you say like, I'm going to research this last name, so they may tell you from the top of their heads, like, okay, that name, especially originally, was very common from the valley, that way you need to go. So, and they might have in that information office also those village lineage books for sale. And how you recognize that office. So as I mentioned that in that Schrift, that German Genealogy e-newsletter, I publish quarterly. So it is a huge letter I, but not capital I, but small letter, but huge with that dot. Okay. So then you have also hard time. It's different than when you research British ancestor, right? Because records would be in different language. What is good here? You don't need to learn language completely as a whole, although it just helps to learn how to read those letters, how to connect those letters, and then try to type it to some translation program. And if something shows up, you will see how you will be proud of yourself. And so we have so many helpful books with these. They give you even that template because those records were in templates. Always that heading was the same. And then there is a transcript of that heading and translation. We have those books here. And there are also so many books for German genealogy. And usually almost every book, they give you at the end at least those few helpful words. I also very much like that German English genealogy dictionary because also Czech records, they were for decades written in German script and also in German language because your German ancestor might be now from Czech Republic. And as there were also many like Germans, but also records created in German language or German script, but then words would be old Czech language. So then I bought my own that red book. It is a like kind of larger format, that book from Ernest Tode. And then there are also various video lessons on Family Search website, which is a free website. So, and you can see here a screenshot how you can just, when you see on that record, like I said, you just need to transcribe and translate just a few lines. So then so this website will help you, but maybe you will see like this looks like T, like it is like T-A-U-F-E, like Taufe. So you can then type it, or here you can click on that letter T, and then it will show you, oh yeah, it means baptisma. Or maybe you can just start, like you can use a keyword like Control F and just three letters. You can just do T-A-U, and it shows you all those words. They start with those, and then oh yeah, because by the kind of it makes sense. It will be this like taufe, like baptism, or here, for example, you will see NN, like nomen nestio. This is in Latin, but you can see name is not known. Um, so here are some styles, but each person has also kind of a different style. But you can see if we would enlarge it, so it is just a few lines. And when you enlarge it, so you will see, for example, like, is this like Burger, like, for example, citizen, burger, and so here also those letters, and then you can just connect them together. So you can also practice your own name. It's funny, we do it on those quarterly German special interest groups. We just had one this Saturday. I don't know if some of those online attendants like are there who were on that session. So when you go to that stevemorse.org website, so you can go to German language, and you can even practice how your own name would be in various kind of German handwriting styles, because there were various styles, they current, like, because it is like really like a current going Sutherlin, that is not anymore. And so then even people in Germany, they might have very hard time, like, oh, I cannot help you with this because we don't learn that at schools anymore. So then you can be even maybe as a researcher better than them. So yeah, and that great feeling. So then we have because German ancestry was the largest, that like the most immigrants, they spoke German. So then we have so many books for German genealogy. So for that, I didn't want to kind of like, okay, talk about like show one book and not the other. So you can just go to our catalog and see it all. I just wanted to, but probably it is checked out because I couldn't pick it up now on the floor. That tiny book, that first one listed, it gives you, because it's fairly current, it gives you also email addresses, email contacts, addresses of the archives, because maybe your archives are not there online yet. So maybe you need to then contact those German archives. So that might help. And it is also available for checkout in search of your German roots. There are even more editions. And village lineage books, I pointed there to those yellow books. As you walk up the stairs, you can immediately see upstairs in our building those yellow books from Ostfriesland, if your ancestry is from the northern tip of Germany, up north. So it is these yellow books from those villages, from those places. And then you can go for more generations back in time. Each person has a code number, like usually like 4 digits. And then you can follow your person through those 4 digits, that code number, through the whole book. You can see that person like when born with parents, then when married. So that way you can see that in that book. And also that genealogy, that net website, what I showed, they have some of those kind of village lineage books already there transcribed on that website. And so here is listed that my German genealogy and beyond newsletter, because here I try to always also give some kind of tip for traveling to Europe, and even some kind of game like undust that old German dictionary and try to fill like these letters to that particular word. So later, if you are not a subscriber to this e-newsletter, later then they are also posted on our website. But you even don't need to read it all, but in that first part, there is always a link to registration for next German SIG. So you can just conveniently click on that and register for next session. So then we don't have times, right? and we are already used to online research. We want to find everything online and free. So you can come to any, for example, library in the Mid-Continent Public Library System and go to Ancestry Library Edition. So they have, like I said, even German churches in the US, they give you that last village like he was from. And but Europeans primarily contribute and build their family trees to MyHeritage website, which was created in Israel. And if you have a library card with us, or those online attendance, if you are not eligible for library card, maybe you may plan for your summer vacation to stop here and buy a research card. And then you could reach that MyHeritage Library Edition website on remote access from home, and then check those family trees, maybe of those like German ancestors who built that ancestry tree in Europe. So, and so here are listed, and there are also some groups on various social media websites. They might help you completely free with translation of some records. And you can also check, because your village might have a website presence. You can possibly contact them, or they have even Facebook. It helped even me, as I started Facebook just very late, not very often going there, but it helped me before with a village, as I messaged that that village, like their Facebook presence through that Facebook Messenger. So, and then they connected me with one like older chronicle of that place. So you can just type your village and .de. That DE stands for Deutschland, which is in like English, it means Germany. And if your German ancestor was originally, actually, it was like Germanic ancestor from territories, they are now not part of Germany. So then you may check records in those current countries, for example, in Poland, in Czech Republic, Slovakia, Romania, Serbia, Hungary, Russia. So you can find your Germans there, but there were some kind of talks and contracts, so there might be some duplicates, and some records would be also sent to Berlin or Leipzig in Germany, so you can check. But many records from Prussia, those Germans, big part of Prussia is now in Poland, so many of those records written in a German script are in online on Polish archives. And I just presented lately Polish genealogy class. So they are there. I featured that website, and it might be still on our YouTube channel. So this is also a beautiful building where I want to go to Lincoln, Nebraska, where is headquarters of the largest Germans from Russia society, American Historical Society of Germans from Russia, and they gave me permission to put it here. But there are various other ones. For example, that Volga German, there is actually even a website in German language, Volga Deutsche. So you can check both. If those, for those online attendants, if those links don't work in your outline handout style, if they don't work, so no worries, please. You just type 2 words, Volga Records or Bukovina Society. Just type those 2 words, or exactly how you can see it on the screen. Many of those, they were so-called Germans from Russia. Yes, as I mentioned, some they came here at the end of 19th, beginning of 20th century, for example, but some they returned back to Germany, and they needed to prove that, yes, we are Germans. So then they had to create some kind of like family trees, and those are on Family Search website under like EWZ files. You can see again that compound word, ein, like a or one, Wanderer, like in English, wander, right? Somebody, traveler. And central, like centrum, like central. And Stelle means like unit. So from those three, it is that EWZ files, you can find them on that website. Here I want to show you that website AHSGR, so that you go to villages. Similar, you can find under your Bukovina, Germans, and other websites. So you click on your village. Actually, those volunteers, they even went to Russia and visited those villages. And it gives you also current name of that place, because of course those names, they are not there. You cannot find them on the map anymore under Liebenthal. But isn't that beautiful? Liebenthal, like Liebe is love, like something really lovely, and Tal like valley. So, and you can see it was in Old Samara colony, but you see also that now it is, I believe, Lubimovka, that it gives you that current name. So then, if you already know your ancestors' place of origin, and you should start with that person who lived on both continents, that immigrant ancestor who lived on both continents. You would go to find his birth record. If he already married in the old country, that would be even better, to find also his marriage record. And the best option would be if at least one child would be born there. Maybe you will say, no, he was just married, but no child. You never know. Maybe there was a child, but child could die. And but you need to find that person who lived on both continents and try to find his birth record. So you can start, I would maybe suggest, with this website, because it is website of Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Salt Lake City, Utah. I also visited, I want to go there back again. It's also beautiful area there. And me as a mountain person. So you go to that website and you can search 3 ways. First, if you already know the place, click on search and go to catalog. It goes by default to place name. Type the place. If nothing shows up, work with a map, have map open and type neighboring village. Maybe there was the church. So because your village didn't have a church. Then you can try closest town also, because in that town could be that permission to emigrate, and those records could be there. Okay, so that might help you. It is completely free website. We have also another class coming repeatedly. I don't know when is the next one. So you can also check when is a class about this website, but it is not one of our websites, one of our research databases, but it is a free website. You can just type to your web browser. And then you can also check under search and all records, and then type the name of your ancestor and what shows up. Just be prepared that, and take it just, okay, it's a hobby, okay. Just tell yourself, it's okay. It happens all the time that people start to trace somebody else's family, not your own, because there would be many Johann, Wilhelm, Friedrich, Schurman, for example. So and it could be even from the same place, born the same year, but luckily, usually they would differ by birth month. Why? Because they didn't have those big choices of first names, and they would even like my cousin has the same first name like me, so they would have because they had many siblings. So father of your immigrant ancestor would have many brothers, and each of those brothers would give like a similar name. So they would be born similar year. So it is really like very tricky. So, but like I said, we have time, take it as a hobby, and that will even educate you, that you will actually learn those methods, how to do that research. Your eyes will adjust to reading to that handwriting style. So you will be then better and better. And then you can even brag like that. And you will see it's a really great feeling. And we all had to learn how to read that old German handwriting style. So then let's go to those German records created in Germany and on German websites. I showed you American websites, right? Ancestry. I showed you family search, but let's go to those German websites. As I already mentioned, this is the largest German website for German genealogy. You can reach it more ways. And so then you can explore it like various ways. There is even kind of meta search. And it will then search through all those tabs, all those links, but not that deeply to each one. So you can try that, but then it is also good to check each tab separately. For example, as you click on that, where is that arrow like JetBus, those are actually transcribed family trees. And so check those. And there is usually, when you scroll down, an email of that person who provided that information. If that email address is from 2012, usually it is not working anymore. But if that email is from 2023, it might be still current. And I always advise people who come here that, yes, try to contact that person. Just type short email in both languages, use any translation program, and so they don't know you. And they approached me, yes, successfully, like that person actually responded and even was glad, happy that, oh, they found connection here, because they know that from every family somebody came here. So you never know, maybe they are looking for you to find that connection. And then there is another big website. I remember when it started, and now how great it is, and kind of my wish or my goal would be like if we would have it here, just here in the library as a subscription website. Think of that. It is not for Catholic records, although people already asked if also those could be there added. Some might be already there added for some places, but primarily it started focusing on Lutheran records, like Evangelische Kirche, which means like evangelic church, like Lutheran or Protestant or Reformed churches. And so you can just type archion.de. DE stands for Deutschland. And you just need to be prepared to pay, but it's not that much. I started the very first time years ago, and it still remembers my password and everything. You just need to pay. So you just go to those passes, like buy access or kind of like a pass, and you will have more choices. I always use that pass for 1 month. So, and I pay by PayPal because it automatically converts money to euro currency. So it is about $21. So like 19 and something euro currency. And then you can browse all the records in all the places. And actually it is already covered, almost all the Germany, very well covered, but they constantly post on Facebook, their Facebook website, what everything was added, like what new churches were added lately, and such a long list. So I follow them that way as well. And so then you can search all the records, and you have 1 month for that, 30 days, but you may download just 50 images. I shouldn't say just, because I think that's a lot. 50 images, you don't need to download every image. But then, yes, the time passes, and then After a few months, I go back again, I pay again, and then I download another images. Actually, my husband's last name, Blahut, Blahut, I found like the oldest name in 1500s in German, North Rhine-West, not like Rhineland-Palatinate, close to like on the western side, like from 1500s. So you never know how far you can go. So actually, CEO of this company, he was here on that very first one, International Germanic Genealogy Conference in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And he gave me, when I talked about my German SIG group, he gave me free passes for my group. And he told me when he, hopefully one day, if he's listening, that when he will pass again through Independence, Missouri, it is like 20 minutes from Kansas City, Missouri, that he will bring me more free passes for those who come to German special interest group. But now we do it differently after so-called COVID times. Like on Saturday quarterly, I have German SIG in person only, no recording, and Sunday virtually only. We just didn't have this last Sunday virtual one because it was Easter Sunday. But even our new archivist was giving us like perfect speech as he spent some time in German archives. And for those online attendants as well, you can listen. I will have virtual session in July, and he agreed to join us for that virtual session in July and give that presentation, how he spent some time in Germany and German archives on that July one. Okay, but here are those authentic original records. Some they go really to 1600s and in some places even 1500s. So you can see how far you can go back in time. So you can just click on your state and then see even address to that archive, because maybe you will realize that, oh, my church is not there yet, I don't want to wait. So then there is actually address to that regional archives and even their email address. It will not be those records, don't expect them in federal archives in Germany, in Koblenz. It will be later records would be sent to city archives, later to or district archives, and later to regional archives. So, or you can click on one of those links here to your like, okay, yeah, it should be in Karlsruhe, I think my place. So, and when you click on that arrow here on that green field, then it unveils to you many, many places, all those places, and even then you can possibly click and even possibly even more villages, or just then you will recognize, oh, this is my place he came from. And then you click on that and it shows you all those burials. You will see kind of tombstone image, or it shows you like two little circles. That means like two wedding rings. So you will know that, oh, those are marriages. And or kind of water, like a wave. That means like that baptized ceremony, like by water. So it would be wave. You know, those are baptismal records. And then when you get to those records, so here you can see it, how it goes. When you click like decanate, let me get my reading glasses. Decanate, for example, here, Biedenkopf. When you click here, it shows you all those places, they belong to that deanery. And so then you can always check inside of those original records if there are handwritten indexes. So they might be up front in the book or at the end of the book or inside after birth, because in one book it could be all three, birth, marriages, death. So after birth possibly, so you can really browse through that film and see. And you can here see that even their website, because they might have like, for example, Hessen archives. Hesse archives, they have even their records on their own online. So you never know, some archives on their own, they could post their records completely free online. So you can check that website or email them. And then here is another website for Catholic records, but they don't have that many records online, but it's coming. So you can just maybe try to search another family line and then come back, like if there is more added. So when you click on that book here, so then it gives you states, because there are more than Germany. There is also Slovenia there, but primarily like Germany and Austria, as it was created in Austria. So you can just type 2 words to your web browser, matricula online. That matricula is derived from one very common word in all those like even Slavic languages, Central Europe, German, metrica, it is like that registrar, civil registry office where even those church records were sent. So when you click, for example, on that number 21, close to Bielefeld, then it will kind of like a star would, like a fireworks, it would spread and shows you more. For example, then it will be number 5. You click on that 5 and then it goes to 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you will click on that place where you need. And also you can go this way. And these are already names of the churches. Like I can see here, Alten, Becken, Heilig Kreuz. Heilig Kreuz means literally like Saint's Cross. So, and then you can just go to that church and its records. Church of Saint Cross in English, in that place, Altenbecken, in that village. Okay, so you can click like Deutschland is Germany. Paderborn was very big Roman Catholic archbishopry. This means archbishopry. You can click with right clicking on your mouse and it would translate possibly. So, and that way. And then you will see these records. And like I said, we have those books, they translate, transcribe and translate also these headings. So what it is, like community, what year it was, what month, and this is actually Tag and Stunde of, I think this is birth record, yes, because next column is Ort und Tage of the Taufe. So this is like the hour and day of the like baptism, but sometimes they give such excellent detailed records when exactly born at night and at home and everything. It's wonderful. Then there are other records when you possibly go to Germany or want to contact German archives. So here are some ideas. Some I translated for you, but because you know that German language is very rich for words, so there might be very many other words they would have similar or identical meaning. So then guild records, they go very early. If your ancestor was like craftsman, artisan, so they would group in those like young men, junge Seele, he would then travel and learn the profession to be shoemaker with some master, and then they had to produce kind of masterpiece to become that professional kind of shoemaker or other crafts or arts. But there they would try to protect also that society, that guild, so that they wouldn't need that many shoemakers in that village. So then you can find in many passenger lists that he was a single young man and his last kind of status was junge Seele, that he was the journeyman. Yeah. So he would decide to emigrate because he couldn't find a work. So then military records, if you want to know about those, it would be in those closest recruiting center to your village. So, and those records are in Freiburg. There are more than one Freiburg. So you usually there is if it is more words like above the river or what. So Freiburg im Breisgau, you can see. And then if your German ancestor came actually very late, I had even in the past, like people who actually came from Germany, that their parents came, so they could be even in those kind of detention camps in Germany. They were created like after World War II for those displaced persons. So you can browse these archives, Arolsen archives. You just need to accept, but yeah, even if you don't have any ancestor like of that late, it was very helpful also to me. For me, like I typed all the names, you never know, like other, like, because they had many siblings. Not everybody came here, right? So, and those siblings are descendants, and then that might open another door for you so that you can check. So then maybe, like I mentioned already, you don't want to wait until your records will be free online. You can write to the archives. So there are various books with those uh, addresses and email addresses as well, but also that Archeon website has actually there all those most current addresses, email addresses, and post addresses of all those archives in Germany. So it's really great. So you can check that way. And for typing, maybe you can start a short email. I would recommend to at least 2 people to write it so they wouldn't reject it like a spam. And then always attach both versions in German, in English. Also, this family search website might help you with combining sentence by sentence. They have various sentences and you can just pick up those they suit you. So you need to go to familysearch.org/wiki and type, for example, German words or German letter writing guide. Here is a picture of that main Federal German Archives. So, and here, like I said, what can be more than visit those places where our ancestors originated, where they walked, usually behind the church was cemetery. Don't expect their tombstones to be there because Europe, you cannot blow it like a balloon. So there is not that much space. So that grave would be just you pay. I always pay when I go there, like for another decade, you can pay that rent. And when the people stop paying, everybody already is deceased from that family lineage, for example, and they will still wait until that, how to say that word in English, when those skeleton remains already completely recede. So, so then somebody else is in that grave. So they are not like here you can buy a plot and you have it for like it is yours, your property. So no, we rent that. And so I would just say feel Glück. So you can see here is that umlaut. So 2 dots. If I don't see there, I would say Glück. But because I can see it is there, so it is Glück. Or so do you remember what I said? How we can, because we don't have it on our keyboard, how to substitute those 2 dots by adding a letter E after that letter U, right? And maybe you noticed that I said feel because letter V in German is pronounced as F. And so an IE, like long E, feel, like literally it means like a lot of happiness, but it is used to like feel Glück to say. And W is pronounced like V, like Victor. Letter W in German is pronounced like English V, like Victor. Okay, so and here is our last slide. So if you, those online attendants, if you've never been in our building, so Yeah, I think architectonically it is very nice building. I don't need to say to those people in the room. They are here. And so you can contact us. We are part of Mid-Continent Public Library System. So please email us and we treat everything like a query and take care of those exactly in that order how they were received. So thank you very much. I think that was my presentation. So thank you for attending Researching German Ancestors class. And if you have any questions, so please feel free to contact us either by email or by phone. And I hope we can also see you at our other events and classes. So thank you very much. Danke schön.